Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guests are two members of the Northeast Kingdom Learning Services. Welcome to the show, and I'll let you introduce yourselves and your titles.
Okay. I'm Sarah Roy. I am the new AEL, Outreach and Recruitment Specialist.
And I'm Annie Christoni, and I am the Multi-Regional Transition Coordinator.
Great. I know your. I believe she's your boss, Michelle
Faust.
has been on the show before, so I'm quite familiar with your organization.
Nice.
It actually started out, if I recall right, back in our day. It was ABE, wasn't it?
And it still is. It's still adult basic education, absolutely. And so we focus on a host of different things, from high school completion. There's still some GED testing, if you will, but GED has kind of gone. It's a more difficult test than it ever used to be, and so high school completion program, which is an agency of education.
Flexible pathway.
Flexible pathway.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Because flexible pathways is what we're supposed to have for our educational system in the state of Vermont. And so that's one of our biggest things.
What do you mean flexible pathways?
You were the plan manager, so you may be able to
Yes.
explain it better than me.
Yes. So many students are looking for a different way to earn their diploma. So we offer something called the high school completion program, where students come in and once they qualify through the testing system that we are required to do, they work with their plan managers, and Annie's the transition specialist, and they come up with an individualized plan to meet the state requirements. What's nice about that is that it can really cater to the students' goals and needs. It can include, online classes or all in-person classes. It can include job shadows. It can include just a variety of experiences that all work towards the individual student getting their diploma in the end. We work with cooperating schools, so like in this area, we partner often with Lake Region and North Country, so when the student finishes the program, they get a diploma from that cooperating school.
Do you work with homeschoolers at all?
We do.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's actually a nice way for homeschoolers to earn their diploma, because the homeschooling program, that can sometimes be a challenge
Yes.
to get through the diploma portion of
Right.
that in working with the Agency of Education. So we already have this pathway formed so they could use their homeschooling experience and apply that towards their high school completion plan.
Right. The one thing I've said about this whole horrible COVID pandemic is I know we might not appreciate it right now, but I also think it's reinventing education, that once COVID is gone, I think because the way we've been educating our children has been pretty much the same way for generations, but now the COVID has really forced educators, parents, and everybody to rethink how they educate. Have you seen an uptick in services you provide?
Funny you should say that. Yes, and it's changing. It's evolving. Hybrid is what I think we're going to see more and more of, like we're doing now in a way. But we've started to see an influx of students who, well, number one, didn't really like going to school in the first place, and they're hands-on.
Right.
They like to do the proficiency-based, and high school completion is proficiency-based. So you're not checking off boxes for credits. You're working on pieces and parts that come together in a bigger picture, all toward your goal of what you might like to do in the end. Nothing's etched in stone, right? You change your careers how many times?
Right.
But you usually have an idea of what you're interested in. And that's what we focus on. And so we've seen several new things coming to light. Homeschoolers are starting to really come into the picture. Kids who don't particularly care for going to the high school for a host of reasons. Some don't want to get up early in the morning. Some are bullied. And they're starting to come more and more. Others just, this is what I've heard lately, they're sick of it. They're sick of the on and off, the on and off. So they can come, they can meet individually with us. That's what we do with students. Meet one-on-one, work through all the different sections, all the things, help them, support them, and, help the parents understand what we're doing as well. And so it's working for more students that way. The libraries are beginning to send a few referrals, especially with homeschoolers. And
I think too another aspect is that students went through a year in high school where they weren't in school every day, and now they're required to be in school every day, and they have just decided that's not for them, and they can accomplish their high school diploma. Kind of setting their own schedule in this way. They can work. They can, work certain days or times and come in and see us, and it works around their schedule, which is something that I think prior to COVID we probably wouldn't have even considered.
And I think, I think with education, the reason I talk about the evolution of education is originally it was designed for people who were going to go to 7 to 3, 9 to 5, factory jobs. Now now it's our world is continually evolving. It's like, for example, before the show, we were talking when I was trying to set my timer on my phone. Is all this thing, everything continues to evolve. So every time I get used to something, they switch it up, and my old brain has a hard time keeping up. But because you and I graduated together, class of 1984. That's a long time ago.
I know.
Because in your mind, are you still 35? Like 30?
I'm
35?
still 20. What do you mean?
And so
yeah,
because I think we've got 30 something, 37 maybe years behind us, but. Even your agency it's evolved tremendously back from, say, the days of, I believe it was Eva Warner.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was, and I think people still have the thoughts, well, this is only for those people who can't function in school. And you've evolved long ago, far past that.
And we see other kids, and this is, it's few and far between, but this is just another aspect. Kids one girl was an Olympic equestrian, and so she was competing in all sorts of different equestrian things. She was off and traveling, and that was the nice part. Her home base was Vermont. So she began the high school completion program, but she could take it all on the road. And converse with the plan manager, get the work all done while she was training and doing all of her prep for the Olympics. And we had another kid who he was a professional motocross and did that for years and years. He too was traveling, and so it offers that to kids in that kind of a situation, and it's worked well because they can't be in a traditional setting. They're not going to be.
Well, that's like I have a friend who went on to be the head of the Border Patrol here. He's now retired, and he grew up as a migrant farm worker from Texas, and he said they did a very similar thing when they were out on the migrant train. And so this isn't really new. It might be, some of it might be new to here, but I think your roles are going to become increasingly more valuable as time goes. I really think with all the terrible things that are coming with COVID, the death, just the fear, I think once it all, because I've been accused of having rose-colored glasses, and I probably do, but I do believe there's going to be a lot of good, and I think we're as we make sense of it, we're going to evolve.
We're doing that. That's what we're trying to do at work, is see it in okay, so what have we learned? And because that's our whole focus. Everything that we focus on in our agency is around positive psychology, character strengths from Martin Seligman and Chris Peterson, to So how do we look at things with gratitude, and how do we look at things from a perspective where, okay, what do we learn? And this is kind of really tough right now, but how do we build resilience? Where do we draw upon? What do we pull up from, down here? And I do it with students. Every student works in that capacity of, okay, that didn't work out so well, now did it? So what are we going to do differently? And so I agree with you. And that's, we can lament and we can complain, but at the end of the day, that's not going to do jack hooey.
Right.
So what we have been really working hard on is, okay, so this might be a barrier. How do we climb over it or go around it or just muddle through it? How do you go through and make sense of it and then change what you're doing and how you're looking at things to make it work?
Absolutely.
And I think I've been banging that drum for a while.
Yeah. And I think that's a challenge that all of us face, not just people that are struggling to get through high school.
Yes.
That's something that we can all learn from and be better from, far beyond once they earn their diploma. So we're really trying to teach some life skills that will benefit our students. And there's a variety of backgrounds. You're right. The misconception has been that, well, if the bad kids need somewhere else to go or some foolishness like that. But it's really become a very strong option for people. And I think students need to understand they have some options. They don't have to do things the way that they've always been done, that there are some options for them. Again, that flexible pathway to really get them where they want to go.
Now, do you have in-class learning as well, or how is it taught?
Go ahead.
Either one of us.
Yeah, so our students have options so that they can take CCV classes. They can come in for individualized tutoring. We don't typically offer a group setting class unless they're specifically, like I'm thinking about the classes that you've offered with Marcus.
Right.
And so there are some specific programs where we offer group setting classes. For the most part, because it's so individualized, we try to find those opportunities for students that meet their specific needs. Some of our students, one of the best parts of high school completion is that it doesn't cost our students a thing.
Right.
So if they want to come in, we've had a student that wanted their CDL. So as part of their high school completion plan, we built that into their high school completion plan and worked with VSAC for a non-degree grant and combined with our funding, and were able to offer that student to take their CDL course. And when they graduated high school, they had their CDL as well. So there can be any number of opportunities that students maybe hadn't thought of because maybe they never considered it because they didn't think they could afford to do something like an EMT course.
Right.
Or
LNA, EMT.
Exactly.
I'm working with a young lady right now who's getting her, she's very interested in plant medicine and aromatherapy based in hospital settings, which is really picking up speed. We did a lot of research about it. So she's getting her aromatherapy certification so that she could indeed, when she graduates, say, and I also did this, and so I could be part of your staff and I'd be looking for continuing ed. And college is great, but it's not for everybody. And so that's another fun thing about working individually with students. You have some who are, they don't want to go on to college at all. But everybody really needs to have a living. You've got to have something. And so we investigate and we look at those things.
Yeah, that goes on another topic is, I think our country as a whole has created a stigma about people who work with their hands.
You got it.
And they go to trade school, and people who go to trade schools, I think trade schools are great. Now, you're talking to somebody that cannot hardly pound a nail straight. I might write for a living, but fortunately I'm good at that.
Right. Everybody's got something.
But on the flip side, all my kids, my 3 kids, we had to fight tooth and nail because they were on the college track in high school. And it was so hard to get them to be allowed to go over to the career center. So what do they have now? They have both. They have they're academic, but because we fought to get them over there too, they all, no matter what, they fall back on what they learned in the Career Center as well. But so what have we gotten by creating a stigma behind people who work with their hands? You can't get carpenters,
Right.
plumbers, I think,
Electricians.
yeah, and those are careers that you not only are they important and they're needed, but they actually bring in a lot more money.
Very
than
lucrative.
Far more money than a college degree often.
Very lucrative.
And one of the things that Annie does with our transition program is to really talk with students about what they think they might want to do and what's that going to look like. So she gives them the opportunity to go out and talk and do some research and talk to the professionals in that field and ask, what did it take to get here? What did your education look like? And it can be anything from trade school to apprenticeships to that, any variety of experiences. And it's great for students to see, okay, this is what they're doing and this is what they make, but how did they get there?
Right.
And it's easier for them to see themselves taking those steps if they really can take a look at exactly what that would entail.
Yes.
I know I have a friend who's a master plumber and electrician, and he was at a meeting once, and he was asking about a budget. And the person said to him, well, it's your fault you didn't want to get an education. Well, he may have not gone to college, and it was funny. He was taken off guard, so he couldn't respond because he says, little did that person know I was making at least, as in he was making at least double
Yes.
of what this academic educated. That's not to say though, because I have an academic education and I can't pound nails.
Me too.
But so there's something for everybody.
Yes.
Right.
And like if I was told that I'd be living the life I'm living now, I'd be saying, no way, because you knew me. I wouldn't talk in front of class. Now I get to even go on international thing. And so in other words, you have to find yourself.
Right.
Well, and that's the nice thing about exploring, because one of the most important things with students, it doesn't matter how old, because you can be 16 to 106
Right.
to do this program. Anybody can do it.
Do you both learn every day?
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. Oh, gosh,
Absolutely.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm always looking for something new, especially one of the things we've seen in a big way this past year is people's executive functioning skills have kind of gone by the wayside. People have lost sense of time. People are frightened. People are scared. You can't think. It's like it's very hard to explain, but we've seen it in a big way. And so continued education for us too, professional development, learning about the brain, learning about what happens during something that's a significant trauma countrywide. Those are all things that I did over this past year so that I could better meet the needs of students. Many of our students come from, they're not the bad kids, but they don't have the best of situations that they have come from. And so there's significant trauma. So how do you engage with a student who sleeps in their car?
Right.
And how do you, because nobody who sleeps in their car is going to be able to focus on English.
Right.
They don't care. They want to be safe. And so my social worker sign goes on as well, many times. But that's been interesting to navigate. So yes, we learn
And
every day.
I think one of the benefits of working with NEKLS is we have a significant group of partners that we work with in the community. So we have students with whatever the need is, and we can connect them with somebody who can help with that. So we can handle the education piece and help them build some self-confidence along the way, and build up their resume and experiences. But when there's more need than that, we also have those connections as well.
Absolutely.
I think there's one thing too about when you grow up in rural America, or even if you're sheltered in a major city, because people have told me even when you live in a major city, your life actually just revolves around a small area. But I think growing up here, like, did you grow up here?
I did not. I grew up in the Barry Montpelier area.
Okay, so probably still largely the same.
Yes, yeah.
Is you don't know the options out there.
That's
Correct.
It's like, we grew up in a time, we grew up like, well, the options were, if you were from a laboring family, those were your options. And as much as your parents wanted you to succeed there, you didn't know the opportunity. Like, do you know where even though I have 5 years of college, my best education came from 7 years at the Chronicle as a writer,
Right.
because if I had a question or if I wanted to know a topic, I knew who to contact,
Right.
and I could act. And I tell people, just learning the opportunities out there and that's
Yeah.
what I learned
Yeah.
from the, like, I wouldn't be living the life I'm living if it wasn't for my years at the Chronicle.
Right.
It's
One of the best things one of the things that I think is most fun that I do is exactly what you're talking about, offering experience. So many of the students that I work with haven't ever left
yeah.
Newport, Derby. They've never been to St. Johnsbury. They have no idea. And I mentioned Burlington, and everybody gets wide-eyed, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
think I was sending them off to Paris or something, unprepared. And Burlington, that's a city. Actually,
Nah, that's just a little village.
like it's not really. So I arrange different things that we can go do, and I take them. And I'll take their parents too,
Right.
if they want to go. But in most cases, the parents have no interest in doing this, or they would have already done it. I happened to travel with my daughter when she was young. We've been places. We went to Europe.
Yep.
We're happy to go. She is a traveler now, and it's because of what we did. So I like to do that and make a light bulb kind of go ding, just a
Absolutely.
little, and give you, and I can only go in the state of Vermont. I can't go outside of Vermont yet. But off we go. I'm going to the little girl who's interested in plant medicine and such. We're going to Rosemary Gladstar's Sage Mountain down in Orange,
Right.
Vermont on the 16th of October to tour and to see what it really looks like to do that kind of work. She's never left Derby.
Didn't you have one of your students call me? I believe it was.
I probably did.
For an interview.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that the person was interested in writing, and I think they gave me rave reviews.
There was.
Good.
I've had a couple who want to be writers. One who can't write his own name. That's kind of funny. But the rest are learning.
Here's the deal about that, though, is I actually, like, I tell people that I think I'm a pretty good writer, but on the other hand, I also have a darn good editor. Is because that's the thing
Right.
is I can certainly hold my own, but my editor is my goddess. Is she? It's like I still haven't gotten over my fixation with my former longtime editor, Tina Starr.
Yes.
Tina Starr taught me everything I know, and so writers and editors, if a writer don't appreciate their editor, they're probably not much of a writer. So,
And we focus a lot on just those basic things too, as far as high school completion. I mean, right now we're talking the grandiose.
Right.
If we talk the small things,
Yes.
how do you get a bank account?
Right.
How do you write? How do you address an envelope? They don't know how. So the basics as well that they don't get when they're going to school in many regards.
well, that's interesting you say that. We only have just a few more minutes, but I was talking to a postal worker, and I do a lot of mail, and they were saying, and this was a younger person who was telling me, a lot of people my age don't even, because so much of their stuff is done now by the internet.
Right.
There's a growing number of people that don't know how to do the envelope thing, and I said, really?
Yep.
And these, yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of the internet and whatnot, we offer a lot of adult ed classes that are not necessarily for people who are looking for the diploma. So right now, to apply for a job, you really have to understand how to upload your resume on the computer and send that information over the internet. There is a population of people that don't have a lot of confidence in being able to maneuver that. So we offer a lot of opportunities for people to come in and learn how to do things that maybe they're not comfortable with or they don't understand. Again, we were joking about learning how to do Zoom. Those are things that, those are skills that if people aren't comfortable with their computer skills, they maybe don't know. And we, all they would have to do is call and say, this is something I'd like to learn.
And this is free?
Yeah, it's free.
Free.
Yes. Absolutely free.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. As we wind up, if people want to learn more about the organization and what they offer, how can they?
We have a website. It's www.neklsvt.org. That gives a good variety of information. They can also call our Learning Center. We have locations we have 5 locations. We have Newport, St. Johnsbury, Hardwick, Canaan, and we also have a branch in Island Pond, but you would call the Newport office to make an appointment for Island Pond.
And we go to them.
Right.
Yes.
I'll meet anybody anywhere.
That's right.
Okay, final words, Annie.
Final words. Moving forward.
Right.
Moving forward. And so how can we best support this community as we're trying to grow and improve Newport and the Northeast Kingdom so that everybody can be successful and get the education that they want individually and with support and success.
Absolutely. I what she said. No. Yeah, I think it's really just important for people to understand that there are options out there. If you're looking for something different than you're currently receiving, call us and find out what we're about and how we could best serve your needs. I think the world is growing and changing, and education is changing right along with it, and we're happy to help anybody who's looking for an alternative.
What is the number?
You can call me at 802-274-6157.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on, and thank you for all your good work.
Yay, thank you.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.